behind you is some of the artwork from my first semester, 6th grade, first hour students that was also on display for the Wharton Center. I was asked to present at the Wharton Center. They have an annual breakfast it's an arts advocacy breakfast, and it pulls different artists together. And so I was the educator that was asked this year, and this was what I presented on. This year, the Wharton Center and the ISD have been doing arts integration for the last 8 or 9 years, and they changed it up a little bit this year. In the past, we've had a team, so an art specialist with a classroom teacher, and then there's a project, and we present to different venues and various groups of people. And this year, we all got to have an artist, and we were kind of our own little project. So I was fortunate enough to have a theater teacher come into my 6th grade class, because I see them consistently enough in a quick enough time that it would have an impact. So she came into first hour for 3 days in November, and we talked about the book Wonder, and we read the children's version of the novel, which is called We Are All Wonders. And we kind of took a look at bullying and kindness, and how can we turn our words and actions into more powerful situations. So this is what I presented on. Little did I know that the guest artist that the Wharton brought in was also talking on the same topic. So it actually flowed really well, and it was like we did it intentionally. The quotes, most of the quotes are from students that were gathered after our experience. Miss Starr, who was our theater person that came in, was with us for 3 days, and then we were working on artwork at the same time. So it was kind of a back and forth between the two arts disciplines. When we're talking about arts integration in Williamston, it's usually a core subject area with an arts discipline, but this was a different type of opportunity that was actually worked out really well. So one of the students had quoted, "Little things can impact a person in a big way." So we took our 6th graders out of their comfort zone, and we made them do all sorts of tableau and some miming and setting up different theater exercises and activities, which some of them loved, and I could see where they're heading down the road, and some of them hated, and we really pushed them out of their comfort zone. But it was really good because it had great conversations that went along with it, and the kids were able to interact with each other and kind of start to talk about the book Wonder and the children's book We Are All Wonders, which is, if you've seen the movie or read the novel, it's a much more shorter version that we could handle in a short class period. And so this whole idea of not just our words, but also our body language and different nuances can cause people to react in different ways. And so the kids really they spent a couple days not talking, but like moving and acting and standing in different positions to show different types of emotions. One of the things that is in the novel, and it's in the children's book, is when given the choice between being right or being kind, choose kind. And so we reiterated that, and you can see from some of the artwork, kind comes up a lot. Just different ways of being kind, different ways to be gentle or helpful. You don't always have to agree, but you can be civil, and we talked a lot about being civil. We had just done a group project. There was not a lot of stability. I learned the hard way. And so this was a perfect time to kind of regroup and say, okay, yes, you may not agree, but there's a way that you can talk to each other and kind of come together as a group and still get things done. So that was a little bit of the background. I think it opened people's eyes to why you need to be kind and why kindness is important, which again is from a 6th grader. So what we did with the artwork, they had a choice on their background, and then they had to make a self-portrait in the style of the illustrator that illustrated the book Wonder. Is actually also the author. And she had one eye was kind of her signature style. She also made the main character, Augie, one ear bigger than the other. He has facial deformities, and so the kids were given lots of different options for how they wanted to do their Wonder self-portrait, but then they had to use words that described who they were for the lines. So instead of just a straight line, it might say artist or basketball player or son or daughter, and so they had to really think about who they are, and at first it was really hard. They're like, well, I'm just me, I'm just a person. Well, what else? Who else? what other parts are there of you. You're more than just a student, you know, you're a friend, you're a family member, and then the juices started rolling a little bit. And then we took those types of things, and then they had to combine it to their self-portrait, and then also add ways in which they can be kind. So these were some of the things that the kids came up with after the experience. Well, there are some kids in 6th grade that don't have many friends, and that day after lunch, I hung out with them. And that's the idea of something like this, is to get them to think outside of themselves, which is hard to do in middle school and really any age. The impact Ms. Starr had on us was that she helped me notice that there are so many different ways to communicate with each other than just talking. She showed me that there are lots of ways to show kindness. I think it helped me to increase my kindness. How bullying is really hurtful, and it is always right to show kindness and to give somebody a helping hand. It helped me to learn that actions can be just as powerful as words. I think it was a great opportunity to find our inner self. I love that. It's very introspective for a 6th grader. It made me think of how I affect other people with my actions. So that was that project, and that was just a 3-day experience with Ms. Starr, and being able to kind of talk my students through this. And once she was gone, and we were kind of left with talking about different ways to work in the classroom and in the art room and getting things cleaned up and being able to move on from there. 2nd semester started, and I actually did the same project with my new set of 6th graders, except for we didn't have the theater experience to go with it, because being a part of the Wharton Center, you get an artist to come in for 3 days, and so that was my one shot, which it was great. Some of the exercises I've been able to redo, a little bit more my way, but that was just one of the bonuses of being connected with the Wharton Center and the Ingham ISD program that they've had. As far as arts integration goes, Discovery and Explore, last year I was able to push into Heather Lewis's kindergarten classroom during her math lesson. And so for the first semester, depending on where they were at and what they were learning, I came up with an art lesson that mimicked or copied those that went along with those standards. And so we did a lot of counting and a lot of coloring counting and found object counting and gluing, and wow, did I realize I kind of take for granted where kids come into school, or by the time we get to that kind of stuff in art. So I learned a lot about where the different leveling is and how many kids are here and some kids are here and there's a lot in the middle, and how to kind of bring it all together. And in the middle you have some donuts, and so we were talking about greater than and less than, and they had to make some stamps, print some donuts, and they had to be able to tell me which the plate or the box or the napkin had greater than and less than, and it was a great summative assessment as we're going through and being able to look at things, and they can talk to me and tell me what they learned. And so this was our kind of experiment into seeing what would happen if I pushed into a classroom. And I just did it for first semester last year, so we did lots of different things with Mrs. Lewis's class and came up with different things of interacting with the kids and using the math skills that they were learning that week to kind of reinforce it with art. So then we have arts in our general ed classrooms. We have a whole bunch of very dedicated teachers that have gone through the Wharton Center ISD Arts Integration Program, and they've been a part of it. And every year it fluctuates the number of teachers. It is a time commitment. It's 3 days in the summer, and it's 4 nights during the school year, and there's some other things that are expected of you. But these are some projects that have come out over the last couple of years. Tableau Tuesday is really popular in 3rd grade, still has been. We did a math and art day last year where we came up with 5 different classroom projects, and the students all rotated through all 5 3rd grade teachers, and I was there to facilitate. So it was really cool to see all the different things they've learned and then putting it into an art project. We have all sorts of different things that have been going on that continues this year. And a lot of the arts integration, whenever we bring in an artist or we bring in new materials, it's usually funded by the PTSA. And a lot of what we do, we couldn't do without them. So I want to make sure to give them a little shout out. They pay for guest artists, they pay for supplies and materials. This year, they were very gracious, and every teacher got $125, everybody did, just to start the school year. And then if you were a part of the arts integration with the Wharton Center and the ISD, you got an additional $125. So it was a nice incentive to, spend 3 days in the summer. And so it's really nice to have their support and their backing when we do these things. So then I like to try, when I can, when time permits me, to do core classroom in my room. And so these are some examples of the things that I've done in my classroom over the last couple of years. Last year we did printmaking with our wax figures for 5th grade. This year I was actually in the middle of helping with Eye on Broadway. Right now we have a bunch of artwork at the Wharton Center that's on display for another week or two from Waitress, and so we were in the throes of that, so I couldn't do both at the same time, but this was one of the things I've done in the past. Last year we painted murals on any window I could get my hands on. James and the Giant Peach, they had read different Roald Dahl books last year, and it was a big birthday for him last year. I can't remember which one, but we celebrated by painting murals of his several different books around the school. Second graders talk about communities and social studies, so of course we had to make our own. They did backgrounds, they did buildings, they made transportation, all sorts of goods and services, and we piled them onto these gigantic murals that they painted. And then with Miss Sterling's class, and I don't know if you know the history of Mastodon is not a dinosaur, but I've been able to kind of slide alongside and assist her with that as well. Last year we made pine trees and evergreen trees to go with our mastodons that guest artist Liz Wallagala came in and made with the kids. So anytime I have the opportunity to be able to pull in what they're doing in the classroom, I love to do it. Time is always an issue, as it is for everybody. And then we've continued to do, I have history in kindergarten, and the kids are starting to prepare they have a performance piece, and then they make an art piece with me, just talking about their past and their present and what they hope to do in the future. And last year, I was able to pull in some science concepts, and so this was the life cycle of a flower, and the kids were able to use found objects, and we did some crayon resist. And this year with the science curriculum changing, I've kind of stepped back a little bit just until everybody else has their feet securely on the ground with what they're teaching, and then hopefully I can insert a little bit of art here and there. Last year we were able to do a lot with Spanish. They look like big Rubik's Cubes with emotions in Spanish with the first graders, and then we also did Spanish menus in 5th grade. And then Michigan is a big topic in 3rd grade, along with 4th grade. In 3rd grade, we make covers for their books, and they do some writing on memories that they have in Michigan, and so I do the covers with the kids. I've also been fortunate enough that the 4th grade teachers have allowed me to try to do a project a decade, because they study the decades, and so we haven't quite made all 9. Every year we get a little bit closer, and I keep shrinking the projects to try to get all 9 in, but right now we're working on bobbleheads from the 1990s, and the kids are like, oh, these things are so old, and I'm like, no, that was my childhood. So it's been fun to kind of look back at the different things that we've done and the different ways that I can connect with the classroom teachers. I think it's been helpful for the kids. I think it's helpful definitely for me, because they know they're more familiar with the subject matter, and they can grasp onto it a lot quicker. And I think that might be it. So currently we're all working on ceramics. We have an art show in March, so I'm going to plug that. March 9th will be our family reading night / ceramics art show. But thank you for letting me present. I hope this gives you an idea of what we've been doing at the elementary with arts integration and the different ways we've been plugging it in, and a little bit that I've been able to do at the middle school. So thank you for your time, and have a good night.
Thank you.